And welcome everybody to episode number 291. And I'm hearing music from somewhere.
Sorry, my phone clicked into our show.
Oh my gosh. Tycko, it's always you. It's always you.
Was.
Anyway, welcome to the OMG Hour, episode 291. It's April 12th, 2018. And of course, I am Sean Evans, otherwise known as Zion Tane.
And I am Jeff, otherwise known as Jeff.
Hello, Jeff.
Hi, everybody.
Hi,
Jeff.
Hello.
And Tycko, introduce yourself.
Hi, Tycko, Mr. Second Place.
Okay, that's
hiding
enough.
over here in the corner. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that's
sorry.
enough.
Sorry.
You've said too much already.
So
Interesting. Jeff's actually using his phone today. He's literally phoning it in today.
I am totally phoning it in. I apologize in advance to the audio listeners. For some reason, Skype is just crashing on my laptop.
It does not
I've never
seem that
used it
bad.
on this laptop before, and it's not working at all. So,
Well, it's all working out. We're here. We're live. Brian is watching us. Hello, Brian.
hey, Brian.
Hey, Brian.
Thank you once again for hosting Tycko and I this past week at PAX.
Yes.
It was a wonderful time. We're going to get into that just shortly. But first, I think Jeff wants to tell us a little bit about an MMO that he and I have been playing for about a month or so now, I think.
I didn't know that you've been playing it. Have you been playing it as much as I've been playing it?
Not as much as you. You are way ahead of
All right.
You're way ahead of me,
So-
is what I'm trying to say.
I think we might have talked about this on the show once before, but I have been playing on the PlayStation 4 TERA. I got to play in early access. I got to play, and I've been playing it quite a bit, actually, over the last few weeks. I think I'm level 30-odd something. Definitely sunk a fair number of hours in there so far. And I come to you with the perspective of a guy who has played the game on PC. And I can talk a little bit about the differences here and there. So for starters, I definitely want to say that as far as sort of conversions from PC to console, which has been tried a bunch of times now. There's been Star Trek Online. There's been Dungeons and Dragons. What else has there been? There's been a whole bunch of them.
Neverwinter Nights. Well, that's D&D.
Oh, sorry, that's what I meant. That's
Yeah.
what I meant when I said Dungeons and Dragons. Neverwinter Nights. There was the superhero one on PlayStation.
Right, DC Universe Online.
DC Universe Online, which was, I think it was a launch title, DC Universe Online.
Was,
Anyway,
yes.
I have got to give them credit where credit is due. This is one of the, as far as the UI and controls go, this is one of the best console conversions I have played yet. They did an excellent job with the inventory management. They totally rewrote the whole thing. It's completely different. All of the UI actually makes sense. It's still complicated because, you can have like a billion skills.
That's high praise coming from Jeff.
Yeah, they did a really great job. I mean, I can't say that it's fantastic. I think I still would have preferred an MMO designed for a gamepad. But in terms of making it work, they did a really good job. That being said, TERA on PC is a very pretty game. It's not the prettiest. I think that honor would go to something like Black Desert Online. But TERA is a pretty darn good-looking game on PC, and it has pretty high system requirements. A lot of the visual luster of this game has been totally lost. They really dialed back the graphics. There is a lot of pop-in. You are going to go into areas which are devoid of anything interesting. And there is an awful lot of stuttering.
Wow, okay.
A lot of stuttering, where the frame rate will just drop into like sub 10, and then it'll go away. But there's a lot of it, and sometimes it can be super smooth, and then sometimes it can be really rough. So in terms of a conversion, there's some good, and then there's some bad. The game is still really fun. It has some really interesting combo mechanics, which are different from a lot of other MMOs, again, with the exception of Black Desert Online, which does it a lot better. it is still very MMO-ish, and it's very Asian MMO-ish. It definitely follows that same progression as things like Arcade or what's another one of those I was playing? I don't know. They all start to blend together after a little while, where it's it's an open world, but you're really just following a very, very linear path through the world. The story is not particularly interesting. It is shown mostly in text boxes with no voiceovers. There is occasional cinematics. It is a good game, TERA. Like, TERA's it's a pretty good MMO. I think that it definitely has its strengths in terms of like interesting character abilities and cool looking characters, and some of the combat mechanics can be pretty good. But it's also a product of its time, right? As an archer, I'm still forced to stop moving when I want to draw my bow, whereas other games, they're trying to keep you a lot more mobile and stuff like that. And it's not saying you're always stopped. There are some skills that let you like charge and move very slowly and stuff like that. So it's an interesting period piece game where in the earlier MMOs, you're talking like the World of Warcrafts and stuff like that, where as soon as you tried to do something, you were instantly locked down and you couldn't move. And then you go into something more along the lines of something like a Guild Wars, or again, Black Desert Online. I feel like I'm bringing that game up a lot, where you've got total freedom of mobility. And this game is one of those weird ones where it's kind of in between. If I wanted to criticize it on things, I don't know if it's fair to criticize, because it's just sort of a part of being an Asian MMO.
Sure.
Like, you'll go through these areas, and the areas are very derivative. There's the desert area, the forest area, the water area, the mountain area. And when you go into these areas and you're fighting enemies who don't really have anything interesting to offer, they all seem out of place. They're all just kind of really weird character designs that are just sort of roaming around. Okay. So, it's not like when you go and you see some of these enemies, you're like, well, that doesn't really fit the area that it's in. It's just all really random, and some of the designs are really, really out there. But that's just a thing about Asian MMOs. They have really wild. They're like super high fantasy when they're talking about their character designs and stuff like that.
Yeah, it sounds like they don't really have like set ecosystems in the game. It's just
a
bunch of areas with enemies, and it doesn't matter where the enemies are. Like when I think back to things like EverQuest 2, for example, which is years and years ago now, right? Mm-hmm. You had separate areas, and each area had like sort of its indigenous species, right? So you're saying, but what it sounds like you're saying is that really doesn't happen here.
Well, there are areas with different types of characters in it, but they don't really fit the world. They're just too weird.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Okay,
it's just not, it's one of those things. It's not specific to TERA. Black Desert Online does it too, and certainly some other games do as well. But it's just, I played a lot of Elder Scrolls Online in the weeks leading up to this. And it's a very different type of game where everything really makes sense, and it's just a difference in mindset between a Western and an Eastern MMO. But sure. Overall, if you don't have a PC, because if you do have a PC, you should totally be playing it on PC. Or if you prefer to play things on console, it's definitely a pretty solid MMO. There's definitely room for improvement, especially in terms of the graphics, because I think they watered them down too much. And there's no PS4 improvements at all. The best you can do is set your PS4 into super sampling mode, and then you'll get a little bit more oomph. But really, I don't think overall TERA is as good of a game as Black Desert Online, which is going to be coming really soon.
Right.
Even though Black Desert Online has some pretty serious problems too in terms of like really obscure complexities. So, cool. But I liked it. I've enjoyed playing it. I'm definitely going to play more of it. Like I said, I played all the way up to level 34. I have no intention of stopping right now.
And you've been soloing it until level 34. You haven't found any barriers to soloing?
Not at all. It's actually a very easy game so far.
Good. Yeah, I found that too. What I've played, I never felt like I was in danger at all, ever.
No. There's occasional times where, because I have a lot of dodge moves and stuff like that, because I'm an archer, so I have a lot of moves to get away from people when they get too close. And you can aggro enemies really, really easily. If you aggro too many enemies at once, it can get a little bit hairy. But as long as you're really smart about staying on the edges, picking guys off and pulling, and like all the old school World of Warcraft era MMO tropes about kiting and pulling bad guys and stuff like that, and then you'll be totally fine.
Yeah.
But it is fun. Like, I'm knocking on it. It definitely could be better, but it's not a terrible game by any stretch.
So before we move on to PAX East coverage, I do want to clarify one thing you said earlier. You said it has cool character designs. And I think what you mean is, by cool character designs, is sexy lady character designs.
It's got really sexy lady characters.
So I think that's what you mean by cool, so I want to clarify.
All you need in a game.
It is, but like it's also got like, because I always let Penelope come and create characters, and it's also got like, you can make little cat people, or panda people, or she was really fond of, like, it had these, like, it's got like a little girl race, which is probably some weird sexy thing for weirdos, but she really liked that, because there was characters in there that she
takes all kinds, my friend. It takes all kinds. And it does
have a lot of really unique character designs in terms of these like big, like, I don't even know what to call them. They're like lizard-esque people, and then I'm some sort of like demon character, and then there's humans and elves and all that kind of stuff, and it's got these like big gargantuan rock people and stuff like that. There is, aside from the cool ladies, which are obviously on all the marketing material, there is legitimately cool character designs and very cool classes as well. There's a lot of neat classes in this game.
What is your class?
I think it's just the straight up archer.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I think
I did one of the magic wielders. All right, so moving on to PAX East. Of course, Tycko and I spent the last almost week in Boston. We went in on Wednesday and came home Sunday. So it was 4 days this week instead of 3.
4 days
and 4
plus
days
drive time,
and 4 days made a huge difference in just how exhausting the show is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But Jeff, before we move on to specific games, is there anything you personally want to know about PAX, about our experience there? And do you have specific things you want to ask us, or?
Yeah, I actually do have some curious things, not about the games that were at PAX, but more about PAX itself, because PAX is turning into a behemoth of a show, right? And I've always been curious about the PAX East, because I've never been to PAX East. I've only ever been to PAX Prime. And
which is actually when I look PAX West now.
Is it? It's past.
Yeah.
What, PAX Prime is PAX West?
Yeah, they call it PAX West now.
That makes sense. I mean, there's a company that bought it from Penny Arcade, and they're now like, they also bought like the Eurogamer conference and a whole bunch of other conferences. Now like the Eurogamer conference is now like Eurogamer conference powered by PAX or something like that.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah. It's become quite the thing now. So I'm curious, now that you guys have been going there for so many years.
Sean's been going there for all of them.
Every single one
all of the years.
This was our 9th year. Next year will be 10 years of PAX East.
So, because originally it started as, I think, a big show, and then it started getting smaller. But now with new ownership, is the show getting bigger again? Is it attracting more of the AAA publishers?
No.
Or is it it's still mostly
a lot of indies.
Developers?
It's a lot of indies. You had a couple of booths for Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo. Not even showing off much like brand new stuff. It's a lot of, hey, here's Sea of Thieves again.
Yeah. You could go to PAX to play Sea of Thieves.
Yeah. You could line up to play Sea of Thieves.
Yeah.
At PAX East.
Now, of course, Xbox had State of Decay 2. PlayStation had Detroit Become Human and Soul Calibur 6, which we had a chance to play as well. So they did have some stuff coming out soon.
There's a few.
Yeah, of the AAAs, really, there was Bethesda, Blizzard, Sony, Nintendo, and Microsoft. Right? So there's no Ubisoft, no Activision, no EA. The rest of it is all, like basically indie stuff. So the entire show, imagine, like, that's really the whole floor, you know, besides those couple AAAs that I mentioned, that whole floor is just indies. And it is definitely bigger because I noticed that what we call the cattle line, where you have to line up to get in the morning, is now outside the show floor. When we first started, it was on the inside of the show floor. Now it's on the outside because the whole show floor is full, right, from one end to the other, and it's a huge exhibition center. Like, it's massive, you know.
It's a pretty big footprint,
right? So, it is bigger for sure. I do feel like it's bigger and busier, and there's a lot more indies. And because there's a lot more indies, there's a lot more booths. Because now you don't have the big, huge booths for, like, Ubisoft and Activate, like, all these huge booths. Now there's a lot of just small, you know, booths. And of course, you fit a lot more in. And so there was a lot of stuff going on there. I mean, it's exhausting.
I still think, to this day, that PAX East happens at the wrong time of year.
Well, it's little less wrong than PAX South, which happens even before that. PAX South is always like at the beginning of the year.
Oh, in like January, February?
Yeah.
That's even worse.
That's San Antonio, I believe.
Because PAX, what was it, West? PAX West happens in August.
August, September,
Which is after the E3 announcement.
Which is after E3.
Yeah.
So it always struck me as a really weird time to have a trade show.
It's great for the indies who aren't going to get coverage at E3.
Yes.
Or something like PAX, because they're going to get a lot more of the little guys stuff out. The big guys they're there because they feel they have to be, I think.
But at the same time, like, really, what are the big titles coming out this year? I don't know. You know, you've got God of War, which is coming out, I think, next week or the week after. You know,
I thought it's out now. Isn't it out now?
No, the reviews are out now. The game's out I think, next week. Right, but you've got a couple of big titles coming out. But really, our gaming repertoire these days have become more of these smaller indie studios encroaching on AAA quality games. Right? Like, a lot of the games we play today are not really from the AAA studios.
I can see that.
Just one of them. One of them.
And I mean, even us, even the games we play. Like, we play all the Ubisoft stuff, but throughout the rest of the year, we're playing stuff from non-AAA studios. You know, like what I guess you'd call them, the AA. I don't know what you'd call them. But yeah, even in the list of stuff, like, we still see some pretty impressive games at PAX, regardless of the fact that these are indies. There's some, like, the indies have become more than just, here's another 16-bit game, you know? There's some quality indie games out there that are really competing for the time.
Yeah. With small teams putting them together, too.
Like what? Let's get into those games. What are we talking about here? What's your favorite game of show?
All right, Tycko, why don't you pick one? I've got a small list here, but Tycko, which one do you want to cover first?
Let's talk. We're just going to go with the one that I actually enjoyed the most out of the. I mean, Detroit Become Human is probably the one I enjoyed the most. I'm sort of most excited about, which happens to be a AAA title.
Yeah. I just want to say one thing real quick, because I know there's people listening who've commented about this particular game, and kind of from the tone of when I see of all of the trailers we've seen of it, you know, really the comment was, I'll believe that that's gameplay when I see it.
Yeah.
I can confirm that everything we've seen from Detroit Become Human is actual gameplay.
I was incredibly impressed with how absolutely beautiful this looked, how well it plays from a story point of view.
Yeah.
I had a lot of fun with this. I didn't really know much about this going into the show, to be honest with you. I was not really that familiar with it. It was a lot of fun to play. I really enjoyed this one.
Beautiful, plays well, it runs smooth. So many different decisions you can make playing this game. When you were done, Tycko, remember when you were done this particular chapter, you can view the sort of the hierarchy of decisions and all the different paths you could have chosen to get to four different endings for that one chapter, right? So you can choose to go back and make different decisions and kind of see how it plays out, because how that chapter ends also affects how the rest of the story proceeds.
Yeah.
Right? So, but honestly, so incredible. I was having as much fun watching Tycko play it as I would if I were playing it. It's that fascinating.
Yeah, it's really a cool thing because as you're playing through, you really do feel like you're a part of that character making the decisions, trying to figure out what you need to do next. As you find out stuff about the case that you're working on, it gives you a percentage of success. So you know, like, okay, I'm only at 50% success on this thing, so I've got to keep looking till I find some more stuff,
more information.
So it really drives you to get more information before moving on to the next area.
I mean, you guys know I love these games. I've played most of their games. The previous one, Beyond Two Souls, I loved it. Played it through twice. I've been really looking forward to Detroit, and from what I saw Tycko playing, I am beyond excited to play this. I think it's going to be fantastic.
That's an April release, isn't it?
It's coming soon. Yeah, it's pretty close.
I think she said the end of April, 28th or something like that. That may not be the 28th. That might not be the right day for releases, but...
Yeah, I'm not sure. Another game, actually, if you don't mind, I'm going to move on to City of Brass. This one really impressed me, and this is coming out May 4th, so it's really close. And the reason why this impressed me the most is because I don't like roguelite games. This is a roguelite game that feels actually doable. How did you describe this one, Tycko? You know, it's would you say BioShock meets Prince of Persia?
Yes.
You know? And
Nice.
It's kind of true. You know, you've got a whip, you've got a sword, and it takes place in like an Arabian Nights story. You're trying to get to the center of the city to free the genie and save the cursed city, right? And you're being attacked everywhere by these like skeletons. Now, the roguelite aspect of it comes from the game is set out into districts. So if you finish a district, you are done that district. If you die,
lock in your progress.
You basically lock in your project with that district. So you only go back to the beginning of the district you're in if you die. What's cool about this is there's objects. You can pick up objects, throw them at the enemies. You can grab them with the whip and pull them towards you. You can shove them backwards into the fire, and then you could whip the fire and it explodes all around them. There's so many different ways of taking care of the enemies, and it's really, really fluid. Like, I was playing this the first time I'm playing this, and I'm doing all of those things I described.
Yeah, and you made it like that's thing. It's not punishing the way most roguelites are. Most roguelites, like, okay, well, you can get 2 steps into this level and you're going to die a horrible, horrible death because we want you to learn about death. It did not feel that way. Like, it allowed you to sort of you got through, I think, two full areas before you handed the controller over, and I died instantly.
I thoroughly enjoyed this. I felt it played super well, and it was fun. Like, I enjoyed doing I'm going to grab the guy, I'm going to pull him towards me, and then I'm going to whip his head off, or you can whip the sword out of his hand. And then I pushed another guy into a barrel of fire, whipped the barrel, it exploded around 3 guys, and it was like, okay, it feels like you're doing all these combos, but it feels so natural to do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And as Tycko said, it's not a punishing game. I feel like this is a roguelite that I could actually play. Like, it doesn't feel like, okay, man, I'm just going to die every time I turn around a corner. No, it actually felt doable. And it looks good. It looks great. It plays great. And it's coming out very soon on PC, Xbox, and PS4.
And reasonably priced, too. I believe this is $19.99 Canadian.
Seriously?
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's garbage. Cheap game.
I was really, really, so honestly, I remember this the most because Tycko remembers this. Walked up and the guy started talking about what it was, and he says it's a roguelite, and I looked at Tycko, I'm like, okay, I'm out.
Yeah, he decided immediately, no, I'm not interested, and then picked up the controller.
Yes, right?
With disdain, I should add. And he's like, do you want to play a bit? Yeah, I guess. Whatever.
I actually, it really was. I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll give it a try. But I'm going in like it's a roguelite. What? I don't like roguelites.
Almost to the point where I said, do you want me to grab footage of this? And you're like,
Why bother?
You're all, like, and
I'm
then
not
after
even
you
kidding.
got into it a couple of minutes, I started like, okay, I'm gonna grab some footage. This actually looks pretty good.
It looks
we've got some.
Yeah, and now I'm excited for it. Like,
Yeah.
so, sorry, I kind of judged a book by its cover there, but yeah, City of Brass, like, I can't wait. It looks fantastic. Tycko, what other game do you want to talk about for a bit?
All right, let's let Jeff pick one off the list.
Oh,
Well, I gotta
okay.
get back to the show notes then. I pick. I mean, I have no concept of what any of these could be.
Even
What
better.
is Primus Vita?
Okay, Primus
Ooh,
Vita.
fine choice.
Another one of my favorites, and I think, Jeff, you're going to love this one too. This is, Tycko, I loved how you described it. Do you remember how you did? Telltale meets Mass Effect.
Yes.
It's a walking
Episodic.
simulator. It's an episodic walking simulator puzzle story, like basically like a novel, like you're just living out a novel. And it's developed by former Ubisoft employees who have done like a lot of AAA stuff, and they've created their own little indie game that's being developed in Quebec. Looks
That's where I am right now.
Yeah. So looks fantastic. Very kind of muted, not huge textures, but very beautiful science fiction-y, futuristic tech, kind of game, and really smart puzzles. But it's also telling this really great story. And there's going to be 6 chapters, and each chapter covers one of the 6 characters in the story. Right, so you see the story that's being told. You're going to see from each perspective of all these characters as you play through. So they're working on chapter 1 now. I really, really enjoyed this. It was really fascinating, and we all love a good walking sim. But this seems to be a walking sim that is full of puzzles, mystery.
That's
lots of collectibles, lots of things to read and kind of pick up on the story itself. And then there's a section in it where you have to kind of uncover the memories of this character, right? And you learn more about them as you uncover the pieces of the memory.
the puzzles are probably the most interesting thing to me because I think that's like the next thing. I've played a bunch of walking simulators right now. I know that I like them, but I think adding a few puzzles into that mix would be really cool.
And that's what this is going to do. Yeah. And they're smart. Yeah. They're smart puzzles. Like the first one you come along is not hard, but it's still smart. It's like, okay,
you still have to think. You still have to think. It doesn't hand you the answer, but it's not difficult to figure out.
What's neat about it is that you can find the answer in the environment if you've looked around. You might find a clue somewhere that will actually give you the answer to the solution of the puzzle, but you still have to figure out how to get to the solution, if that makes sense.
Cool.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Primus Vita. And I think, Tycko, there's 2 games I really want to cover today.
All right, let's cover 2 of them.
Yeah, then. So first of all, unfortunately, we don't have footage of this game yet. We will get it.
We
weren't allowed. It's too early. And it's a game called Last Year, The Nightmare. This is it's a 4v1 game.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So it's the new Evolve.
It's
like Evolve, yes.
Yes, but it's more like a Left 4 Dead. So the 4 of you are the one we played, and I don't know if it's going to change in the main game, but what we played, we were like high school students trapped in a high school. You have an objective to get to. You know, the objective is to I think it was to get gas or something for the generator, turn on the generator, which will then basically turn on the electricity in the school to allow you to escape out this hatch. The one is this creature, or I don't know what the one is actually.
There's 3 killers or bad guys that you can choose from at the moment, with different powers and
okay.
And so on and so forth.
They're in the school somewhere. You don't know where they are. And they're trying to basically kill you before you escape. Now, you don't start the game with weapons. You have an object in your... Like, I played as a kid with this scanner, which told me how close the enemy was. So, the more the scanner was going, the closer he was to you, right? When you die, you are respawned in a locked room, so somebody has to come save you.
Exactly like Left 4 Dead. With that.
And then you can pick up scrap throughout the school, which allows you to build weapons as you're trying to escape. So you can eventually build like a shotgun or something if you find enough materials.
When you say you pick up scrap, are you picking up like different things, like a tube and a trigger and all that kind of stuff? Or are you just picking up generic scrap?
You're picking up scrap. You're picking up scrap, and I guess I don't know. It's really early in development, but from what we played, it was unbelievably fun. It was absolutely fantastic. I was the only one to escape.
Really liked it because he survived stepping over my dead body in order to make it out.
Did he throw you under the bus to survive?
No, actually, the guy captured him.
I sacrificed myself in order to allow Sean to.
Sean probably manipulated you to sacrifice yourself. It's like, you know what, Tycko? Yeah, you'd probably be good at dying right about now. You should die. I think that's the objective.
I did do that. I did do that. I died exactly on cue.
So I was up on the rafters. You have to get up on the rafters after you you open up the exit, and then the enemy is up on the rafters, and there's another person running to the exit. I think it might have been Brian. I'm not sure. But the enemy captured him, and then turned around to get at me, and my scanner can flash the enemy, so he blinds him for a minute. So I flashed him. He was blinded. I ran past him. My heart is pounding because I know he's right there. And I get to the exit, like, probably by the skin of my teeth. Right? It was really exciting. Like, honestly. It took a while for us to figure out what we were doing, but it was so exciting once we kind of figured it out and got into the groove of it.
Yeah.
I feel the responsibility to remind you that after you had played Evolve at PAX, you were also very excited.
I know. And that is the only thing I'm going to say about, like, I guess negative thing I'm going to say about last year is that, yes, it's a 4v1 game, and we've seen how they do in the past.
They need a full array of people to play. I mean, even the most recent ones are very similar with the Dead by Daylight and Friday the 13th really suffered at launch from server issues and lack of people to play against.
Exactly. So I agree, Jeff. I'm definitely not, looking over that detail. The fact it is a 4v1 game, I am concerned. But from what I've seen, I'm excited for the game. But I am concerned that it is a 4v1 game. But from what I've seen of it, it's exciting.
There are high hopes, and hopefully it works out.
Exactly. And the last thing I really want to talk about, Jeff, because I think you would enjoy this one. This is called Wormhole Wars, and this is literally...
Oh, yes.
Halo meets Portal.
That is on their sign in quotation marks.
At PAX. Halo meets Portal. So this is a game it's not going to be for me when it launches, because it is only a multiplayer game. It is only a PvP game. But it plays well. It moves really well. The gameplay you're seeing here on YouTube is actually the developer himself.
Us.
This is not us.
Definitely not us.
This is video provided by the developer, and this is he's played like 2,000 hours of his game, obviously, so he's really good. What's cool about this is, like the game Portal, you can create portals in the environment. An entry and an exit portal, and you can use them while you're playing the game, while you're trying to kill the enemy, your opponents. What's neat about it is some of the strategy is, for example, you walk up behind the guy, you shoot him, and as he turns around to see what's going on, the developer created a portal behind him, walked through right behind him, and just shot him with a shotgun. So he basically distracts him from one end, portals behind him, and kills him. And it's the strategy too that I've seen in the video is. So you can see through your own portal. Okay, you can use your opponent's portals, but you can't see where they lead. Right? They're just a solid blue or orange color.
Oh, okay.
All right. Yeah. So you don't know where they're going. So what I see the developer doing is he creates a portal. He can see through it, and as the enemy walks by them, he shoots them through the portal because they can't see him on the other side. So there's a lot of strategy in this game. By adding portals.
So I'm going to tell you my first thought. This looks something that looks like it's going to be really unique, but I'm not sure how frustrating it's going to be to play.
You're going to have to be really good. It's definitely going to be
You're going to have to be
competitive.
really good.
Yeah, it's going to be a competitive game for sure.
You're going to get killed at
A lot.
all kinds of places that you're not expecting.
Exactly.
And,
you have to think differently when playing this.
Yeah, it's just, you know, I played a lot of Titanfall 2 multiplayer, which also it was a game like this, which you can look at this and see that it has a very high skill ceiling, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know that there's going to be people that are going to be really good at this game. And my issue with Titanfall multiplayer was always that because the skill ceiling was so high, unless you were willing to put the time in to get really, really good, it's not a game that you can just go and play for, you know, an hour a week or something like that. Like for me, when I play multiplayer, because I still play like multiplayer Destiny, you know, I'll play like 3 hours a month and still place midway to upper mid on the leaderboards, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
But this is one of those
casual.
things. It's going to be super hardcore, and that's always a tricky proposition.
Yeah. Now,
but it looks cool. Like, it's a great idea. Like,
really great.
You can mix a shooter with Portal. Like,
Exactly.
that's going to be freaking awesome.
Right?
Sounds like a great idea.
Yeah, and it plays well. I mean, we didn't play it ourselves, but I can, I was watching a lot of people play it, and they were having a lot of fun. It's not something I would suck at it, to be honest with you. So I didn't even actually play it myself. But the developer was saying that they just got an investor to invest $1 million into this game. Tycko, do you remember how much they created this on?
This build was created off a $30,000 budget, and they've just gotten their investment bumped up to $1 million. So they're looking at
So he looks at these graphics and he says these are B level graphics. We're going to up these to A level with this influx of money. So the game already looks good, but he's going to make it look better. So I'm like, okay, because it already looks great. So good for you. It's small team. Like what you're seeing here on YouTube, this is a $30,000 build. That's incredible. Yeah. So,
yeah, I can kind of tell. The UI kind of sucks. There's not a lot of effects going on.
Well, no, but it's also still an alpha. Like this is literally an alpha build, you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
I'm just saying I agree with the B level graphics. I think there's some things missing there.
Yeah. So
that's awesome.
I think they need a new name too.
I agree.
Tycko's not. Wormhole Wars.
That's such a dumb name.
They
need to rebrand it.
Tycko, do you remember in the car on the way home I was saying it should be like even just Portal Wars, but of course the Portal name is probably copyrighted, but
so Valve's going to take him to task.
Well, exactly, but here's the funny thing. I think an early version of this game, when it was early in alpha, it was actually called Portal Wars.
Yeah.
So they provided a couple of Steam keys for their alpha, and when I loaded it into Steam, it originally comes up as Portal Wars Alpha, but then it downloaded as Wormhole Wars.
Oh.
So Portal Wars was the name of it. Obviously, you can't use that name, but it definitely. I agree with Tycko. I think the name is a bit leaves a lot to be desired, but concept-wise,
it's a pretty silly name.
Concept-wise, the game is incredible.
Yeah, looks really good.
And the developer definitely knows how to play. All right, now, before we move on to the news this week, instead of a lost treasure, I'm going to leave you with a really cool interlude. This was a... which I'm trying to remember which booth it was. I think it was the Eastbird booth. Was it Eastbird run it? YSBRYD. Yeah, Isbird. I never know how to pronounce that. Anyway, in their booth, while we're demoing a couple of games, these two, a guy with an electric guitar and a girl with a keytar and a little beatbox, basically a drum machine, comes up in their booth and they start playing. And I managed to grab one of the songs, and it's fantastic. I really enjoyed it. I want to leave you with this little interlude, and when we get back, we'll talk about the news. So we'll be back right after this. I wish I had gotten more information about who they were after they were playing, but I really enjoyed them. They played several songs. I just managed to capture that one bit. Really, really good. Like these guys, I don't know who they were, so I wish I could credit them. Anyway, gentlemen, let's talk. So,
oh no!
Oh, Jeff, where'd you go? Jeff fell down.
I fell. I moved too far away. This cord isn't very long.
So I was reading an interesting article. I always, we're getting to that time in the console life cycle where it's like, what's next? When is next is really what the case is. And Andrew House, of course, former PlayStation chief, was talking about where he thinks things are going to go. And, bottom line, he thinks that, this generation is going to be longer than normal. We're already 5 years into this life cycle.
There's right? No longer than normal. The last generation was longer than the last generation before that.
He thinks, and he thinks this is going to be even longer than that. So the gap between PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 3 was 6 years. The PlayStation 4 then arrived 7 years later, and we're now approaching its fifth birthday. But industry speculation, he says, generally pegs the PlayStation 5, or whatever it is next, coming in around 2020 or 2021. I almost think that's too soon. But I don't know. I don't know where it's going. He also thinks that the disc will still be around even in the next generation.
What's interesting about that is he gave the same argument for why it stayed around in this generation, which is mostly for emerging markets.
Exactly, right? Because China is mostly untapped right now. It's still, and there's a lot of markets that just won't be able to deal with download only or streaming games, which is kind of where I thought the next gen would go, would be more into the streaming or the download only stuff. But he's saying because the world essentially isn't ready for that yet. Like the whole world, we're in a first world country. Like we have that. We have the ability to do this. The rest of the world doesn't. Which I totally understand because consoles are everywhere now. So, but I don't even I was surprised to even see this article because I honestly thought both Xbox and PlayStation said the future of consoles was the quote-unquote upgradable console, right? The new iterations of the console. So are they pulling back from that now? Is the Xbox One X and the PlayStation 4 Pro, is that it? Or do you think we're still going to see more upgrades to the current gen? It's hard to say, right?
It's really hard to say.
Yeah.
I mean, we had speculated a lot about this when the PlayStation 4 Pro and the Xbox One X were, coming out and stuff, that this was going to be the way, and they were just going to it was going to be like the iPad, and then, everything's going to be backwards compatible for a time until, one thing or another makes it not able to run anymore. And backwards compatibility is going to be a thing until the hardware is just not good enough to run the game anymore. So it will be interesting to see what happens. I think maybe we get another hardware refresh, a super slim, just super S. I guess they can't call it the SS.
Super
That's probably yeah.
That'd be bad.
It'll be the Xbox One XXX.
But I don't know. It's a really, really hard call. I mean, I think at this point, watching that footage of Detroit Become Human shows us that there's a lot of potential left in the boxes that we have now.
Exactly.
There's
I don't think we've tapped them yet.
No. And to be honest, I mean, you don't really see their full potential until the end of the generation.
Agreed.
Right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of games that are coming out now that still don't look that great. I mean, let me rephrase that. Let's look at Far Cry 5. That's a good-looking game.
Oh my god,
it's super pretty.
Yep.
But compared to something like Detroit Become Human, it looks like garbage.
Well,
garbage is probably overstating. But I'm just saying there's a lot of room to go. You look at even like a Star Wars Battlefront 2 or even Star Wars Battlefront 1, those games had unbelievable graphics. Everything is not tapping them out yet. And going back to our PAX East discussion, there's a lot of games that don't care about our graphical capability,
Exactly.
We're starting to get to a point now where, AAA means, photorealistic graphics and all that kind of stuff. But there's also a lot of devs out there working on pure gameplay, and new hardware is not going to affect them because, everybody's trying a bunch of things now. There was Kinect and there was the Wii U and that didn't go. It's not about new features. Can I honestly say that if a PlayStation 5 came out that I would want something different other than just more power? What would it even be?
Well, and I've asked that question before.
We're not at the point yet where holographic gaming is feasible.
No.
So, speaking of which, if you're in Ottawa next week, you can come try the HoloLens. Anybody that's listening, just hit me up on Twitter if you're in Ottawa and you want to come to a party. My company is hosting a party, and we're going to be letting people try the HoloLens.
Sweet.
And so just let me know.
So, Tycko, when do we leave?
I'm a little driven out at this point. I may need
a
little longer to recover.
I can drive. I'll drive to Ottawa.
You're going to drive for a 2-hour party?
Sure.
So, there's... I would like to say that VR and AR, or MR as it is being referred to now.
Yeah, mixed reality.
Is the next big thing, but... I really feel like Sony's dropped the ball on that, and Microsoft is doing the Microsoft thing and biding its time. They don't want another Kinect on their hands. When they go HoloLens, they're going to go all in.
Yes.
So I don't even know. I don't know. I felt like I rambled there for a little bit.
No, that's good. Talking. It's all good. I totally agree. I don't know where the next gen could go beyond where we are now, because we're still waiting for that next experience, and as we see, even things like Sea of Thieves, high fidelity graphics don't matter, right?
No, if you get the right game, the right gameplay. I mean, gameplay is really where it's at. You need to have the right, it has to be the right amount of fun and usability.
I mean, when Tycko plays things like Kitty Powers, obviously graphics don't matter.
Listen, those are top end graphics for that genre.
That might be true, actually.
Because I think it's a unique genre that is just that game.
All right.
So,
all right, Jeff, what do you want to talk about next? You threw in a bunch of stuff. What's your favorite?
I threw in a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Hold on.
That's good radio right there.
No, I have to say something.
Do you want to talk about the Lawbreakers thing?
I want to talk about the Lawbreakers thing, but I don't give a damn about the Lawbreakers thing. I mean, I do, but I don't. But I do. This is the news. The news is Lawbreakers dev's next game, Radical Heights, another stupid name for a game, is a Battle Royale game show with a twist. And
that they're making...
That's not the interesting thing to me. So the interesting thing to me is that they, a few days before they announced their new game, they said that Lawbreakers is done. It's over. It didn't meet an audience. The game is dead.
So first of all, just to clarify, we're talking about Boss Key game.
It was way longer than that.
Was it longer than that?
It was in the fall.
It's basically dead. It bombed completely.
It was. I mean, and they've yanked support. They're like, we're not doing anything more with this. We're done. We're gonna move on to our next thing.
So the thing is about that is that Lawbreakers was a gamble that going back to the Unreal Tournament style shooters was going to be the next big thing. That was the gamble that Cliff Bleszinski bet on. But that is not what happened. What happened is PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds became the next big thing in the Battle Royale game mode. And then that game, like PUBG, totally exploded and took over. And then out of nowhere, Fortnite.
Fortnite.
I think they said within 3 months, as a passion project. The devs of Fortnite built a Battle Royale game. They put it out there. Now Fortnite is the biggest thing ever.
Yep.
So, but that Battle Royale style gameplay, that is the next big thing. So now they're trying to bank on that. And it's interesting to me because we've been doing this show for a long time. And even before that, we were gamers and we were paying attention to industry trends. And you can see, you remember when World of Warcraft came out and it became the biggest game in the world, and then everybody made an MMO. And then, like, Call of Duty became a thing, and everybody made a World War II shooter until we were, like, sick of World War II shooters. And then, like, Guitar Hero, and then, like, there's fads in gaming, right? And this is the next big one. And there's been a bunch of games that have done it, and now Cliff Bleszinski is doing it. And that makes me a little bit sad, because I always found him to be more of a leader rather than a follower.
Yeah.
And this is just sort of like... This is just sort of like, oh yeah, we're gonna do this thing.
We're gonna try to cash in.
Yeah, it's a cash-in move, right? And that's fine. I mean, so was Fortnite, and that did really well. But these guys have their own twist. There's game show. It's like that's the setting. It's an actual game show, and you can collect cash, and you can deposit it in ATMs, and then in the next round. Like later, you can go back and pull it out, so you can start with better guns at the beginning of the round and stuff like that.
Can I just say, like they have a launch or an announcement video available. You can check it out in our show notes. It looks dumb. Honestly, I'm looking at this.
Have you ever watched some people play Fortnite?
Yes.
It looks ridiculous as well. They're like this multiplayer game, and all of a sudden they start building walls out in the middle of nowhere and like building all this. Like, oh gosh, this does not appeal to me at all.
No, but I get Fortnite. Radocka Heights I don't know. It just looks. I didn't see anybody fighting anyone. He was just running around blowing up machines, collecting money. There was no actual battle going on. Like where's the Battle Royale?
One day, the three of us should go check out any kind of Battle Royale game. Because I don't think any of us have played one, right? Or Tycko, did you play PUBG on Xbox?
I played PUBG on my phone.
On your phone?
Oh, I forgot it was on the phone.
How does that work?
Count.
It is. I mean, it works exactly like there's a little thumbstick and a little shooty stick, and
you can play Fortnite on your phone too. I mean, we don't talk about mobile gaming very much anymore because it's kind of dumb. But yeah. Well, actually, a lot of people were mad about PUBG being ported to mobile phone and Xbox, for that matter, when the PC game is in such disaster.
Yeah.
And especially when they're going up against Epic Games. Like, Epic Games just kicked the baloney out of those guys. Like, you're talking about one of the most established developers that has been around for like 30 years. They just crushed them. That was a good move by them. Anyway, so I thought that was interesting, but, I don't know if another Battle Royale game is necessary. There's a lot of them coming out.
And it depends on when they get finished. Do you finish they finish it in time to still take advantage of people being interested? Or do they hit that
I don't know.
That thing at the end?
I can tell you that the game is playable now. You can go to the website, download it, and play it. And while most of the game isn't there because it's like super early mega pre-alpha, the cash shop is intact. So you can go spend real money on outfits.
Oh, good.
Isn't that exciting?
Good.
Jeff, tell us about Destiny 2. We haven't talked about that in a while.
Just because Destiny 2 is going through some really hard times. I could probably talk about Destiny 2 woes for a long time. But they, in a video the other day, they were talking about their roadmap. Their upcoming roadmap up until season, along with the Warmind DLC, which we still don't know. I was pretty close, but they are bringing a whole bunch of new. They are bringing a whole bunch of new updates, and they are continuing to put in quality of life updates. Let's just go through some of these. Season 3, kicking off May 8th. What's the interesting stuff? Private matches, which are always interesting. Vault space increase, which I have no need for, so I don't care. Multi-emotes. So now, it was always weird in Destiny because you unlock hundreds of these emotes, but then you can only equip one.
Yeah.
So now they're going to give you a way to equip more than one or equip all of them. Exotic weapons are going to get the Masterworks perk, which is pretty awesome. And then there's doing just a bunch of other, like, it's basically the DLC and a bunch of quality of life things. And then in the summer, there's going to be the new seasonal event, and then a bunch of quality of life improvements. And the big issue here, though, is that the quality of life improvements are not coming fast enough. They recently did one where they're like, oh, we changed the game, we made it faster, your super recharges faster, your melee recharges faster, everything's faster, you walk faster, run faster, faster. And then I went in there and I played it, and I'm like, did I get this patch? Doesn't particularly feel faster. It's going to be like, it's 10 seconds faster, but when it takes 5 minutes to recharge, the difference between 5 minutes and 450 is like nothing. So I don't know. There's still real
Destiny in months.
Yeah.
Actually,
same.
I just played it. I bought it on PC and I played it again, and I beat it again just the other day. And I did all the DLC, the whole Osiris thing. And I'm stuck right now because I'm not high enough light level.
That's the last time I played was when the Osiris launched. I still haven't done that DLC at all. When did Osiris launch?
Whoa, a long time ago now.
Yeah.
Long time ago. It was like December or something.
That's the last time I touched Destiny 2.
Yeah. It's just really unfortunate. I think I spent actually a lot of time thinking about this. And I think what they did is in Destiny 1, by the end of Destiny 1, they were really catering towards the hardcore players of Destiny. And they realized that they lost a lot of the more casual players along the way. And in Destiny 2 seems to be so laser focused on trying to keep casuals that they've stopped providing stuff for the hardcore players to do. And now, once they burn through all the content, it's not interesting anymore. The content isn't as dynamic as it was. The customization isn't as much there. Down from the weapons to your loadouts to your skills you have equipped. It's just all. Simplification is usually always good, but I think they oversimplified their game to a fault. And now they're struggling because they need to add. With too much simplicity comes lack of depth, and now they need to add complexity to give the game more depth because it's very surface level right now, and it's really sad. So, yeah, we'll see. Well, I'll play it when it comes out, though. I love it. So,
all right. Well, that pretty much brings us to the end of this episode. If you want to know more about some of the games Tycko and I saw at PAX East, we did 4 day in review shows on YouTube, so
including one from the car.
Including one on our way home.
Trying to get Tycko to crash.
I almost did a couple of times.
Face. Yeah.
No, the camera wasn't in his face. It was under. It wasn't in front of him.
It was. I was not expecting it though.
It was in his field of view.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Also, when you shoved it in his mouth, that was really inappropriate.
That was.
Anyway,
we did discuss that at the production meeting before, though. I was okay with that.
Listen, Linda, listen. We go check out YouTube at, get this, youtube.com/OMG Nexus. That's right.
Wow.
That's right. We got our URL, youtube.com/OMG Nexus. You can check out the days 1 through 4 day in review, and we cover a lot of the games that we saw there that really impressed us. So things like Above, last year, The Nightmare. Actually, we didn't talk about last year. We talked about it here. Semblance, Sleep Tight, Steel Rats, The Gardens Between, Witch It. These are some of the other games that we talked about there, so go check it out. And with that, Jeff, you start us off. Take us away.
I'm Jeff. Follow me on Twitter at Cynics.
And I am Zion That is XIANTAYNE. Don't forget to watch us Thursdays at 6 p.m. again at youtube.com/OMG Nexus.
Yay. You can follow me on Twitter at Mr. Second Place. Follow the show on Twitter at the OMGR. Show notes can be found at omgnexus.com. You can follow that on Twitter at OMGNexus. Our gaming archaeologist is Sid Bolton. That's at Sid Bolton, Sid with a Y. Like, subscribe, and comment.
Yes, all of those things.
See how quick I did that? See how quick I did that?
Fantastic.
That was good. It's like I was reading it.
Almost. You threw me off, Tycko, completely. All right.
I know.
Just end the show, Sean.
That's it.
End the show.
Okay, we're ending.
done.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. This has been episode 291. We'll be back next week.
Good night, everybody.
Bye, guys.
This has been an OMGNexus.com production.